Hey, this is Tony here with Salt Strong, and in this video I want to show you what I have found to be the best size and type of hook to use when using soft plastic lures for inshore fishing. Now, most lures that you're going to be using inshore are anywhere from that 3 to 5 inch size, and this hook seems to be the best universal size for pretty much all these lures, and I'm going to show you all of them rigged up on this hook. And this is the Owner 3/0 twist lock hook. This is a 3/0 size and it has a 1/16 ounce weight on the shank of the hook. And this works really well for fishing inshore because most fish that you're targeting inshore are pretty shallow, so that 1/16 ounce weight isn't too heavy and it's also not too light. So this hook, very universal. You can keep this pretty much on one rod and use any of these lures, which makes it very ideal. So that way you're not having to constantly change hooks for different lures. So again, any lure in that 3 to 5 inch size range works very well for this hook, and that's typically going to be the size range of the lures that you're using for inshore fishing. So let's go ahead and go through each one of these lures. I'm going to show you rigging them up on the Owner twist lock hook. First up is the 5 inch Gulp Jerk Shad. This is a camo colored 5 inch Gulp Jerk Shad made by Berkley. And very simple to rig up. Just push that centering spring into the middle of the front of the head of the lure, then just start twisting it on. Once you get it up close to the eye of the hook, you can see there it's close to the eye of the hook. Measure up where you're going to poke that hook out, and when you do rig it up, poke it through the back of the lure like so, and then leave the hook fully exposed. Once you do that, then you can just barely skin hook the point of that hook, and that lure will be on there weedless and ready to go. As you can see, the hook isn't overwhelming. It's not too big for the lure. Also, it's not too small. Next up is the 3 inch Gulp Shrimp. This is a 3 inch new penny Gulp Shrimp. Same thing as a Gulp Jerk Shad. Line up that centering spring with the very middle of the front of the head of the lure. And then just push that lure onto there and start spinning it onto the hook. Again, line it up with these 3 inch Gulp Shrimp. You'll notice the ridges on the shrimp. I'll usually go through that second line on the shrimp, or right after that first little ridge right there. And that's where I'll poke the hook through. So just poke it through the body. Then just, again, poke it all the way through. Just barely skin hook that point, which makes it weedless. And as you can see there on the 3 inch shrimp, it's not too big, not too overwhelming, and it's also not too small, and works very well on those 3 inch lures as well. Now, a little off topic, as you notice, I did rig the shrimp with the darker side on the bottom. These new penny Gulp Shrimp, the darker side is the bottom of the lure, and the lighter side is the top of the lure. And you can just tell that by looking at the lure itself. As you can see, the bottom has those ridges that would imitate the legs, and then the top is smooth and flat. So that's how you would tell which side of that lure is which. But going back to rigging up, the next lure we have is a Slayer Sinister Swimtail. This is a Swimbait lure, and it's about a 3.5 inch size. Again, ideal size for these hooks. Same concept. Just start spinning it onto that spring until it gets to the front. Measure up where it's going to go, like so. Poke it all the way out through the top, and again, just barely skin hook that lure, or that hook point rather, so it's in the lure and it's nice and weedless. Again, as you can see, that 3/0 hook works very well for this size of a lure, and this is a 3.5 inch size bait right here. Next up are the Z-Man baits. Now, Z-Man baits tend to be kind of difficult to rig up, so I'm going to show you a little trick here as well when using these Owner twist lock hooks. So first up we have the Z-Man Minnow Z, or the Z-Man Minnows. Again, that's another about 3.5 inch size bait, same size as this one up here. So what you want to do is take the hook point and create a pilot hole in these baits because they're very elastic, very stretchy, kind of hard to rig up. Just poke a hole through the top of that bait, right through the head, and then line up that pilot hole. And then what you want to do is push that bait all the way up onto the spring and pinch it there. Once you have it pinched, start spinning the entire hook, because that's going to start spinning the spring Spin it about 3 or 4 times and then see where that spring lock is. As you can see, that lure is now up onto that spring all the way up at the top of the hook. And then again, just make sure you are pushing that hook point through the body in the right spot. Just kind of line it up, measure it up, and there you go. You have that Z-Man Minnow Z or Z-Man Minnows rigged up on that owner twist lock hook. So next up we have the Z-Man Scented Shrimps, which is this one right here. On these shrimp, you're going to notice there is kind of a little part that sticks out on some of these. As you can see there's a little part that sticks out. What I like to do is just pinch that off, just rip it off. It kind of gets in the way when you are rigging. So I'll just pull that out of there, pinch it off, or you can cut it off. It's still on there. There we go. So now it's just a nice flat surface on the head of that bait. Again, same thing. I will take the owner hook and create a pilot hole through the head of that lure. Flip the hook around, push that centering spring right into the head of that lure where I created that pilot hole, pushing the Z-Man bait all the way up onto the spring and over it, and then twisting the hook 3 or 4 times, get that spring lock in there. And there you go. That bait is on the spring lock. Then just measure up where you want that hook point to go. Poke it through the body, out through the top. And then you can just barely skin hook it like you would the others. And there you go. You got the Scented Shrimps on the owner twist lock hook. Now the last bait is the 5-inch Z-Man Jerk Shads. As you can see, I'll go ahead and get these out of the way here. But the Z-Man Jerk Shad kind of has a bigger body than the Gulp Jerk Shad. It's a little fatter, but it still works really well on these owner twist lock hooks. And I'll show you that here. Again, creating that pilot hole on the Z-Man baits. Getting that hole started. Center spring through, pushing the head of that bait all the way up onto the spring, making sure the spring is straight, and then pushing that all the way up and pinching, then just twisting that hook while pinching the bait on the spring. And there we go, it's on the spring, ready to rock. Again, make sure you measure up where you want that hook point to come out. Let's pop it right out of that lure. And there you go, there's the 5-inch Z-Man Jerk Shads on the 3/0 1/16 ounce weighted owner twist lock hook. So again, this is what I have found to be the most ideal size hook for pretty much a wide variety of lures, as you saw there. So you can have this on one rod, and if you need to switch out baits, just simply take one soft plastic off, put another one on the hook. That way you don't have to cut line and retie every time. So very good hook to use for many types of soft plastics. Now we also do sell these on our shop page, which you can find at the link right down below. We sell them in 5 packs of 3, so you get a good amount for a really good deal. So definitely check that out. So that will wrap up this video on the best all-around universal hook for soft plastics when fishing inshore. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.